Alrighty, what's going on, you guys? It's Infinite Ace. Today, I'm gonna be doing my season 20 Legend tier list predictions. Now, these are not set in stone. Obviously, we have no idea who's gonna be meta, who's gonna not be meta, what's gonna happen in season 20. But I'm gonna give like a preemptive list of how I think more or less the season is gonna play out as more time progresses. So the first person we have here is Ash. Right now, Ash to me is like the worst legend in the entire game. Definitely close, if not the actual worst legend in the entire game. But she's getting a pretty good buff that I think is gonna put her in about C tier. The buff essentially extends her tactical time to 24 seconds, and it snares 3 people instead of snaring 1 person, which is pretty big. There's some talk going on online about it stunning for the entirety of the 24 seconds. I don't know how true that is, but as of right now, we have no idea if it's actually that strong. Ash might go in A or S, but if it's just snaring people for 24 seconds, being able to snare 3 people, I think that's definitely a big buff. She's not in D as she would have probably been before. I think it gets her up that extra peg up to C tier. Ballistic gets an extra smart bullet as one of his perks. It's going to be a much more push heavy kind of meta. So, some people might definitely like Ballistic. For me, he's still going to be probably in. Actually, I'll put him probably in C tier as well, along with Ash. I think they'll both be able to go in C tier. Just because it's going to be like a much more push heavy meta. So, a lot of these Assault Legends are going to get a lot better just because of that. Because they have more utility when it comes to pushing. And if damage is still going to upgrade your Evo, obviously the people that are better at pushing the legends that are better at pushing other people are gonna thrive a little bit more. So Bangalore is definitely gonna be S tier next season. They gave her some of the best buffs, and she was already S tier to begin with. I don't even think I need to go into it much, but yeah, Bangalore's still definitely gonna be S. Bloodhound is also, in my opinion, gonna be S tier. He can choose between 2 different paths, obviously, just as everybody can. But one of his is reduced tactical cooldown, and then one of them is like that's one of his level 2s, and then one of his level 3s is double tactical. I think that's gonna be so busted. His other tier 3 is also very good. It's a in his ult, he's gonna be able to regain 25 HP off of a knock. That's also pretty big. So Catalyst. I think Catalyst is gonna sit comfortably in the A tier. There's some other controller legends that got some really big buffs, so I think that kind of puts her out of S tier for me. But they're unnerfing a lot of her previous nerfs, so she's still gonna remain very, very viable. I just don't think she's gonna be as viable as, let's say, the next person on this list, which is Caustic. Caustic for me is gonna go in S tier. He's gonna be able to passively heal inside of his gas, on top of the fact that he's going to be able to throw his canisters way farther, pretty much. Like at least from what I've heard, he's going to be able to throw them almost like if they were nades. So that's huge. Yeah, and then obviously he gets reduced to cooldowns, all that other good stuff. Conduit, they didn't do a lot with her, but I think just for the way that, or maybe not S, I'll put her in A tier as well. The way that they kind of did her buffs, she was already strong to begin with. They kind of gave her just some tiny little buffs. And with the push heavy meta that I think is going to be procuring more in season 20, I think she remains comfortably in A tier for me. Crypto. Now, Crypto got a nice EMP buff. I don't think it's going to do much for his character. It's not that he's a bad character. I just think the main player base doesn't really know how to use him. For that reason, I'm going to put him in C tier with Ash and with Ballistic for my season 20, prediction. Fuse got some pretty garbage buffs. I think Fuse is still definitely a pretty good character. He's gonna just sit nice and solid in the B tier, as are a lot of other legends like Gibraltar. Gibraltar is also gonna go in B tier. He got some pretty nice buffs as well. But I don't know. I just think there's other legends that do his job better. That kind of like Newcastle. I think Newcastle does Gibby's job a little bit better than Gibby does. I think Watson also does a pretty good job of kind of being able to hold down a building, kind of being able to kind of play behind cover. Newcastle and Watson, in my opinion, just do that a little bit better. Horizon didn't get crazy buffs either. I think she'll still be very, very decent. So I'm going to throw her again in the A tier. Now, Lifeline. Lifeline's one of those legends that could really swing either way. I have no idea exactly how it's going to end up going. But for me, right now, as it sits, I'm going to throw her into the B tier. Because she could go so far as to get to A tier. She could also go so far as to get to D tier. Now, Loba. Loba goes into D tier. Why? Because she's so strong this season, why would somebody who's so strong even be considered A or S tier this season automatically just go to D tier when she technically got buffs? And the answer is it's just going to be a very, very aggressive meta. And, she just doesn't have a lot of utility in her kit to be able to deal with all of that besides her bracelet. And there's other repositioning tools in the game that are just much, much better. So I just don't think she's going to be that good this upcoming season for that. And I don't know what the map rotation is going to be, but if Olympus is on it and Broken Moon is also on it, she might not be that good either, because Broken Moon is in a smaller map, but you can loot it a lot faster because of all the zip lines. And Olympus is a very small map, as is King's Canyon. If it's, it really, for her, it depends on the map rotation and the meta. And right now, the meta, I think, is going to be a very aggressive one. So for me, she's just going to go at the bottom of the barrel. Maggie, this is, I think Maggie's going to go in the S tier this season. It's a little bit of a biased take. I love playing Mad Maggie, but she's going to get an extra tactical charge, or her tactical is going to be 1.5 times bigger. And then her tier 3s, one of them, I don't even remember what it is, but it's not very important. The second tier 3 that she has is, I remember what it was. It was killer handling for the shotguns. So she's going to be able to reload shotguns on Nox. And then the other tier 3 is just going to light her ultimate up with thermites, which I think is super awesome. And in a meta like this that I predict is going to be, she's going to be very, very strong for that push heavy kind of just fragging at everybody meta. Mirage is going to sneak into what just happened? Okay. So yeah, Mirage is going to sneak into the C tier. He's getting a pretty nice buff. They're reducing his cooldown for his ultimate to 30 seconds instead of a minute. And every time he gets a knock, he gets his tactical back. That's one of his tier 3s. Pretty good buffs, if you ask me. That's a pretty big cooldown. His cooldown was already a minute, so it's going to be 30 seconds now. So that's a pretty big reduction on that cooldown time. He's just going to be like that solo queue, have fun, get in there and just get it done, have fun, having a bunch of fun while doing it type of legend. I think he's going to be very popular in pubs this upcoming season for that. But in terms of his overall team viability, he's going to have to go down in the C tier. These are all, in my opinion, for ranked. This is like for ranked play. I'm not really talking as much about pubs. This is going to be mostly for ranked play this upcoming season, at least how I think it's going to be. Newcastle. I like Newcastle. I've always liked Newcastle. I've always thought his kit is very good. He's getting some decent upgrades, such as you can either choose between having extra health for his mobile shield or his mobile shield being able to move faster. Whichever one you choose, I think either are good, and I think that's going to sit him comfortably inside of the B tier. Now, Octane. Octane, for me, is also going to be in the B tier for ranked, simply because, while he's the most popular pub legend still, and now he's going to have an extra ultimate, he just doesn't provide as much utility to the team. If it really turns out to be a very, very, very push-heavy meta, he might go up in A or S. You know what? I'll put him between B and S. We'll call it A tier, just because the meta, depending how it is, will make him stronger. Now, Pathfinder. Pathfinder is also going to go in the A tier for me. One of his perks is going to be reducing oh my god, why am I drawing a blank on it? It's reducing the amount of damage that you take on ziplines, and while also not allowing anybody else to go on the zipline like any other teammate. It's going to charge the zipline, which is huge. That's a huge buff. I think that sits him comfortably in the A tier, even possibly S, but not sure. Rev goes B tier. He's got some decent upgrades. Nothing that's gonna go out of this world, but for now, he's gonna sit comfortably in the B tier. Rampart goes down for me in the C tier. She's getting reduced cooldown on Sheila. I think she also gets a second Sheila, which if she does, great. But at least as it sits right now, I don't think she's gonna be very, very strong this upcoming season, mainly because of the meta, and also because I just don't think her upgrades are that strong in comparison to others. Why does it keep doing that to me? Thank you. Seer. Seer's garbage. He's gonna remain garbage. He goes in the D tier. As does Vantage. Vantage is also gonna go down in the D tier. Her upgrades aren't great. Her as a legend for ranked is just not great. I think Valkyrie, with her buffs, she goes from D tier to C tier, in my opinion. I don't think there's any legends that are really just horrible. That's why I didn't put anybody in the F tier or in the E tier. I didn't even know the E tier. Like, I don't even think the E tier should exist. But yeah, I don't think there's anybody that would go in those bottom two tiers. But there's definitely a couple that go down in the D tier. Valkyrie was one of them before. Now they're pretty much unnerfing Valkyrie. So before, she was very, very strong. Her ultimate used to go up way higher. Used to go up like much higher than the evacs, as did like her missiles were much better. Everything about her was much better. Her jetpack fuel, and those are all things that they're reverting. So that's gonna make her a lot better, but I don't think it's gonna make her as good as some of these others. Watson for me is gonna go in the A tier. Why? She gets a second gen now, or she could just make her first gen way stronger and heal more. Both are gigantic pluses. I think Watson was already in a very good spot. For that reason, she will go in the A tier. And Wraith, for me, her upgrades don't do much. I've seen gameplay of them. It just doesn't do as much as it looks like it does. For that reason, I'm gonna put her in the B tier. You know, I think she's still a decent IGL legend. I think she still can get some decent work done. You know, in pubs and with a good user, I think she could still definitely get some work done in ranked. But as it sits, like her actual kit, not as good as it once was, and definitely not as good as some of these other people that are here now. But she's still decent, so for that she goes in the B tier. So yeah, those are all my predictions, at least for season 20. That's about to come out tomorrow. I will be streaming that as soon as it comes out. I'll probably be streaming it for like 6 or 7 hours. So, you know, if you want to pop out and go see the stream, it's Infinite Ace 51 on Twitch. And yeah, I'll see you guys there tomorrow. Thank you guys. Have a good one.